skip the executive summary and see if anybody else joins us. For those of you online, welcome to our late spring, first of summer MLIAC meeting. We'll go ahead and do introductions in just a minute, but I want to thank you for participating. This is going to be a unique meeting format for us because, as you know, the legislature passed and the governor signed House Bill 343, which significantly amends the Land Information Act to the Geospatial Information Act and amends the makeup of this council. And so we want to take an opportunity in our closing meeting under the current makeup to get your feedback and guidance on how we can best work with the newly formed council that will be seated earlier or later this summer before the fall. So we really appreciate your interest and engagement and guidance as we go through kind of a facilitated discussion a little bit later in the agenda. We're going to be joined by Ashley Kent from the Montana State University Extension Local Government Center to help facilitate that. And she's in the room with us today. And we will certainly be able to engage all of you online in that process as well. So again, thank you for participating in this important meeting for us. Let's go ahead and do introductions. I'm Jenny Stapp. I'm the state librarian and chair of this council. We'll go around the room first and then have those of you online introduce yourselves.
Lee Mackles, City of Missoula, and a local government representative.
Karen Fashaway, State GIS Coordinator with the Montana State Library.
Eric Spangenberg, Lewis Clark County, City of Helena, GIS office. I'm a professional GIS representative on the council.
I'm John Anderson. I'm with Fish Wildlife and Parks. I'm in the Geographic Data Services Manager.
Mike Boswell, doing transportation, one state government representative.
Brian Collins, GIS Program Manager for Montana DNRC, also a state government representative.
Evan Hammer, Digital Library Administrator at the State Library.
Okay. Genevieve, you want to introduce yourself?
Genevieve Lighthizer, Admin Specialist, State Library.
And then online, Alan.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. Alan Armstrong here with the Bureau of Land Management, currently
Alan,
representing.
we're having trouble hearing you. It doesn't look like you're muted, but.
Give me one minute.
Kevin, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Kevin Loberg. I'm with USDA
Oh,
NRCS.
okay. It's on our end. Let us fix the issue.
We're the problem.
Try again, Alan.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Hi. Yeah, hi. Alan Armstrong here with the Bureau of Land Management in Billings, Montana, currently representing the Department of Interior on the council. So, hello.
Thanks, Alan. Kevin?
Good morning, I'm Kevin Loberg. I represent the USDA NRCS. I'm the Montana State GIS Specialist for that organization.
Yeah.
You're Greg Brooks.
Greg Brooks, if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, Greg Brooks with Datamark. I just recently took over responsibilities for Montana, and I'm just trying to get entrenched everything GIS addressing related in the state.
Welcome, glad you could join us.
Thanks.
And the Make It board.
Jeff Sprock, president of Megit from City of Billings.
Mike Powell, past president of Megit, Yellowstone County.
Thank you both for joining us. And then Michael.
Hi, everyone. Michael Fashaway, GIS Land Information Lead at the Montana State Library.
And Matt.
Hi, Matt Trebish. I'm GIS Analyst with the Montana State Library.
Anybody else online that I missed? Okay. Let's go ahead and start with our standing reports. Jeff, do you have a meeting report?
I do. Mike and I have been working on it this morning. Just first of all, I want to introduce myself. I'm Jeff Sprack, the GIS coordinator for the city of Billings. I've got 20 years worth of GIS experience, started out in the biology field and worked in the local government realm as well. I got Mike Powell with me here. Now the past president was the president of MAGIP. Just start out with updates. So first thing I wanted to talk about was the Big Sky GeoCon. Big Sky GeoCon had over 200 people in attendance. It was a very successful conference in Billings. Did really well on revenues. Our revenues exceeded our expenses, so was able to make some money on the event, and hopefully those of you who were able to attend enjoyed the experience and would appreciate feedback on that. Oh yes, our next Big Sky GeoCon will be in Billings, April 15th through the 18th in 2024, and we're looking at or we'll be having the Big Sky GeoCon in 2025 in Helena, there in Helena at the Delta. Currently, the big thing that we're working on right now as an organization is the 2024 fiscal year budget. We've got a lot of things to work through there. We're going to have a work session next week, and then the board will be looking at approving that at the July meeting. As far as scholarships go, 2 scholarships have been recently given out by MAGIP. One was to Anna Moser from the University of Montana. Anna is a graduate student in the Department of Geography, and her research places her in a long line of students and programs studying the impacts of climate change and the distribution of characteristics of Arctic vegetation in Alaska. Her work will involve a field season in the Arctic, collecting reference measurements that will be related to high-resolution aerial imagery collected by unmanned aerial systems. The other scholarship was given out to Eliza Rickenbach from Montana State University. Eliza is a graduate student at MSU's Earth Science Department, focusing on water resources and remote sensing. In her work, Eliza will use a novel remote sensing approach. What's that?
We froze.
I think it's because I joined.
Can you hear me? I'm not sure they can hear us.
I can hear you.
Okay.
But I can't hear them. Oh, I think
Yeah, I
I
can't
just,
hear them either.
They're back.
you're back.
Oh, okay.
Our internet connection is a little unstable, so we lost you for about a minute.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, for scholarships, we gave 2 scholarships, both to students at Montana or university, or one at University of Montana, one Montana State University. It was Ann Mosier and Eliza Rickenberg. As far as new board members, we recently had elections and have 3 new board members. We have Gail Jorgensen from the city of Bozeman. She is our vice president. We have Hillary South, the secretary, and she's from Montana Army National Guard. And we have Tessa Schweitzer, the technical committee chair, and she's from the city of Great Falls. We have 3 people that have left the board and really appreciate their service. That was Aaron Vaughn from Great Falls, Jason Danielson from Lewis and Clark County, and Jeff Hedstrom from Montana State Library. We had new member orientation for the 3 new members this month, and that went very successfully. As far as our our SIG groups, we have 2 SIG groups currently. The local government SIG group that was recently taken over by Andrew Stickney of Missoula County. And then I run the LIDAR SIG group. Andrew has monthly meetings for the local government. That's going very well. We have 15 to 20 plus participants that attend those sessions, and the LIDAR SIG's just getting off the ground. We've had a couple of SIG meetings and probably will have another one in August. We had several of our members attend the MSU Earth Science Colloquium. Mike, was that like 3 people from MAGIP that attended that?
No, it was just me actually
okay.
from MAGIP, and we had a couple other volunteers that helped judge the maps. There's about 20 maps out there.
Okay.
Good showing.
We recently changed our bylaws to add a board position for web administration that was approved by through election from our members. And we've also, at the last board meeting, changed our request for assistance policy. We've lowered the amount per event to 200 from $250 to $200 per event. And that was mostly because most of the events were costing under $200 and just seemed like a reasonable thing to do. We're having the email going directly to the president. We're hoping that will make a more efficient way to address the request for assistance that we do get to MAGIP. And we're going to be requiring photos and a brief write-up for all the meetup and other type events that we sponsor. As far as meetups, there was one meetup since your last board meeting. We had a meetup in Missoula for the retirement of I think it's Kevin McManigal from Montana University, or from the University of Montana. Our strategic planning retreat is going to be hopefully set for September 18th in Jackson, Montana. We're still working on planning that event. Another thing that we're looking at as a board is rekindling our fall MAGIP meetings, trying to provide GIS support to the northern and eastern parts of Montana. And we're looking currently to Esri to see if they can help us support that. We really need a champion in either the northern or eastern areas to get that going. Finally, future topics that we'll be discussing at board meeting, we're looking at planning for GIS Day this year, continuing to work on our budget, and looking at a work group to review and update our website. And I'm interested in discussing developing a code of ethics for our organization. That's pretty much what we've got as updates. Yep.
Thanks, Jeff. Any questions for Jeff? All right. Again, thanks for being with us.
No problem. Thank you.
Aaron.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna condense all my reports into one. I'm gonna start out with grants update and then discuss outreach activities and then do a strategic planning update. So get started. That's a delay. Okay, so we are in the process. It's as many of you know, it's the end of the fiscal year for state government, so it's a little nuts right now. We've got projects closing, projects starting, and projects extending. So this is FY 2022. This is a special case because if you recall, we awarded off-cycle grants, so they started really late in that fiscal year, which is why we have decided to extend those because they did not get a full second year extension. And so you can see that we closed out, let's see, seven grants, and we're working on closing 3 additional ones. We've got the Ponderay County, Town of Sunburst, and City of Great Falls. So we're working on getting final reports, final invoices, and data submitted to us. If the data updates an MSDI layer, we'll work on integrating that information in, and you won't see a record in the data list. However, if it is data that stands on its own for a locality, then you will see that updated in the data list. We're working with our partners on that, and Stillwater County and Department of Transportation are the 2 that we've extended into this next fiscal year. Those are both for PLSS grants.
It's not Department of Transportation.
Did I say transportation?
You did.
I'm sorry. I've got transportation on my mind, I guess. DNRC, excuse me. And the reason for the extension, especially extenuating circumstances. Stillwater County had flooding last year, it really set them back. With their GIS shop of one, and then the DNRC actually, this area is covered in snow for most of the year. It's pretty difficult to access. And they also had difficulty finding a surveyor to do the work. And so at the Marls conference, I was able to talk to the community and we were able to find someone who was able to work on that project. A lot of the infrastructure bills taking up a lot of the surveyors' time. Some of those big projects that are coming up, this is a smaller project. And like I said, hard to get to, but we did know many folks that were willing to go do some hiking around the Coal Creek area. If you've never been there, it's beautiful. Okay, 2023. I think this is the first. I'm only gonna have two that are actually gonna close out this year. Cone County and Teton. So Teton County is working on finalizing the cone. I think they wrapped up, I think in February. And so they not only finished early, but they extended all their funding. And so Nancy gets a gold star. I'll have to tell her that. Teton County, if you had not heard, Danny is leaving the county. And so we're working quickly to get everything completed before she leaves the county. Missoula County should wrap up. They were behind about a month. We expect to see them wrapping up within the next couple months, and the others, granted, have asked for almost a full year's extension. So we will continue to work with them to ensure that these projects get completed. Michael plans on going out and doing some outreach activities to some of his grantees. And then also we'll have some other project managers get out and do some additional outreach to ensure these get wrapped up. Any questions on either of those two? Okay. And then this should look very familiar. We just approved these as the council back in April. We are basically just in the process of contract finalization with all of the 7 grantees. So this is just kind of a reminder of what was granted out. Any questions? Anybody want me to go back to another slide? No. It's just so quiet. Anybody online?
I guess just throw out.
Yeah, well, I should have put one in there.
So do you think Missoula will be able to get back on schedule? This is a multi-year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
I think
Yes,
they'll be able to get back
yeah.
on schedule.
I do believe so, yeah. They've been an excellent grantee, I would say, yeah. And I'd give them top remarks. I was actually surprised when they asked for extension. They just needed a few extra weeks. So, I guess one thing to point out, Ponderay County, they just finished up their 4th year of grant funding. I wanted to have them present, but their Melinda Burns, their DEF coordinator / GIS person / whatever hat she wore, she left in January. And so they just rehired a new individual, Morgan Johnson, I believe is her name. And Matt had met with her at a recent outreach activity that I'll talk about, but she's just kind of getting her feet under her, and I didn't want to ask her to present. So maybe because it's 4 years, I kind of want to make a big deal about it and work with her and Cody Farkle, which is the clerk and recorder, to have a big presentation in the future. I guess I will say that we are no longer using Ample Fund. And you all should be aware of that. We use some internal processes, and Matt built some workflows through Microsoft products, but it's still we still are looking at tools, the possibility of using some of the state adopted tools. At the time, it's just a lot going on, so we decided to kind of take a break from testing out new tools and we did have some demos. And we'll probably try to work on looking into other tools, specifically the ones that have been adopted by the state. I think that Kevin had outlined 3 yesterday at the IT board meeting. Kevin Gilbertson, our CIO, that would be interested in looking at to try to help make this more sustainable process. Okay, outreach activities. So here's some of the outreach activities that we have participated in this past spring and summer. There's a geohazards workshop that Troy attended, Troy Blanford, our water information manager that was with the Montana DES and Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology. And he did a presentation on dams impacted by earthquakes. He discussed LIDAR, RTN, and the MLA grant program. The Emergency Management Forum, that is the presentation slash event I was talking about that Matt Trebish did with the local DES folks. So the Montana DES is now hosting these conferences again. It's been a long time since we've been able to be at one. And it just makes a lot of sense. A lot of our grantees are DES folks and they're it's a major partner. And he had been asked to do a presentation with FEMA and Headwaters Economics about using data to tell your story. And then they had a booth and he discussed what we have to offer at MSL in regards to geospatial. And I do believe Bob Cochran went to meet with folks and work the booth. So it was an overall really good success and plan on attending those in the future. It was held here in Helena. Did you go? You're shaking your head, okay.
I know, well, we just lost her, she just moved back to Oregon. So
Oh, really?
we're searching for a new passport.
Yeah. And then we just completed some county visits for the GeoNaval Elections Project and Next Gen. So Caroline DeSaltis, Megan Burns, and Bob Cochran went to visit Glacier, Lincoln, and Lake counties to discuss basically addresses and boundaries. And it was a successful visit. Following that, this is planned, Flathead County, thank you, Michael, and Flathead County. Following that, this has not happened yet, but we plan on doing some kickoff meetings for the PLSS grant program or grant projects. And that would be visiting Fort Peck tribes, Blaine County, and the city of Great Falls. Michael. And we have the Montana Association of Clerk and Recorders and Election Administrators annual conference coming up that we've been asked to present on. Our GeoNaval Election Project, the MSDI updates, and we'll probably be presenting in collaboration with our partners, the Secretary of State. We will discuss MSDI, the MGIA grant program, and of course, GeoNaval elections. We first attended that. I'd always wanted to go to the Clerk and Recorders Conference and never was able to, but last year was the first time, and it was a great conference. And that will be held the second full week of August. And then Michael and Bob Cochran are slated to hit the road to do some PSAP county visits to discuss Next Gen 911. So they'll be hitting up some of the MLA grantees and others, and it's a long list, so I didn't put it in there. But hopefully by late summer. Any questions?
Kudos to Bob. I know he and Jason have been working a lot together. With the Next Gen work that, Jason's working on for Lewis Clark County, so they've had some really good meetings, cleaning up data. I think getting ready to move to the next step of cleaning up more the boundary work now.
Yeah.
The IRS and road side of things, so.
Thank you. Yeah. Bob is out there, and if he can't go in person, he is on the phone working via Zoom or Teams and helping the locals get their data prepared for Next Gen. the county commissioner from Macomb County called him, who I have a good relationship with because it's Nancy's husband, Nancy Stemple's husband, and he called him Bob, the Wonder GIS man, so. It's great that he's known so well throughout the counties.
Yeah, we've just had a lot of positive feedback, and I think it's a combination. Bob was really good at this, and then also, I think it was a real need. These DES emergency services people really needed GIS support, so really happy with how it's working out.
Yeah, and we're working internally to, with Bob, and others to decide what kind of training activities we want to try to do to get a better understanding of what's needed. There's a thought that maybe we go back up to the northwest corner of the state and do some training, even if it was only for half a dozen people. And then Bob's got some ideas of training, doing some small trainings throughout the state. Now that we have our computer lab, it's something that we can offer. If you're interested in something, or anybody online knows that there's some communities that are in need of assistance, so it's part of our greater MSDI partner training program, and so we're trying to figure out what the needs are. If our grantees have training needs, because of our Esri ELA, we're able to work with our training consultants and get them set up on a training path, Esri related. But then we also want to kind of dive deep into our data models and workflows that we suggest. So it's been beneficial. And here's some of the outreach activities that we are slated to try to attend this fall. And there's a lot of acronyms, so I'm gonna go through those. MAP is the Montana Planners Association Conference. I did the locations. That's gonna be in Butte this year. And that is the week before NSGIC. The NSGIC annual conference is going to be in New Orleans. And as soon as we get attendees, or not attendees, excuse me, appointees for the new council, we do plan on trying to send at least one council member. So if you aren't interested, I'll keep you guys all in mind if you are reappointed. And then the Montana Association of Counties Conference is the same week as NSGIC. I can't attend that, so Matt will be attending that in my stead. And the League of Cities and Towns is the October 11th to 13th. That's actually in Helena, so that's nice. Let's travel for that. Are you participating in that? No.
I'm aware.
Yeah. Montana Water Resources Annual Meeting. I can't remember where that is. Missoula maybe? Troy will be attending that, maybe with some other folks from the library. And then there's a Montana 911 training forum that Michael is putting into the chat now, September 19th to the 21st. And then for the state employees or agencies here, we have slated the Esri activity to plan for our next year in alignment with our enterprise agreement the first week of October. So they're tentatively coming out that week. And
what does that consist of? I mean, is it more training or is it just?
no,
workshop?
so last year was the first one we had in person in a while. Typically our professional services liaison and the EEAP manager and Enterprise Advantage Program is what EEAP stands for. And then our account managers come out and they try to plan activities surrounding credits, if credits are available, or just general GIS activities to get a better understanding so that we can collaborate or understand what's on the docket for agencies. So last year we had, I don't know how many agencies attended, it was pretty well attended. And then because our EEAP manager was new, she wanted to interview all of the agencies. And so I think because she was new, it was a lot of repetition and, learning on her behalf. I think we've had better events in the past, in my opinion. We also had a few individuals, technical specialists from Esri, they couldn't come, but they were able to join us and give some overall presentations on some products. We had a Snowflake rep come. Trying to think the other one. ServiceNow,
Integration,
yeah,
yeah.
ServiceNow integration. So those are some of the hot topics at the time. Just to kind of start the conversation, so typically we have a big meeting where everybody's in it together. And then we have an opportunity to schedule a one-on-one with Esri. Typically, I try to attend those meetings just for questions. Have you ever been to one?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting, though, I think. I would recommend that we get a little more involved. I think Brian, I'm sure was.
Yeah, Brian and Jack,
But
and maybe a couple developers were there
yeah,
last year, Brian and Brian. And yeah, most of the agencies that were present. Okay. So as a recap, I'm just gonna talk to you now about our strategic plan goals and where we're at today. So these are the order that we're looking to accomplish them in, and we're in progress with improved communication with geospatial stakeholders. We have a business plan created for the goal number 5, improved partnerships for MSL GIS coordination. We're in business plan development with developed policies and best practices for geospatial data. And we have not started the final 2 that continue to improve collection, maintenance, and dissemination of authoritative land information and improve GIS coordination within the library. I want to thank Lee. She's one of the council members that's a part of our smaller implementation team, so thank you very much. Did I freeze?
when you say, I was thinking about the third one. And I'm just curious, given we have a DGO at the state level now to see. Did you work with him on this at all, or about how that? Because we have that same.
Yeah.
Data is data from a perspective, whether it's geospatial or otherwise, and trying to. Not offer a distinction that we treat data from a policy and. Perspective, this data, I'm just curious if you.
We're starting that process now. Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, we have a good data policy, I'll share it with you, because we spent a lot of time,
Yeah,
might be something that.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is starting.
Absolutely appreciate that.
yeah, and I was. The Secretary of State also reached out to me in regards to archiving policies. Which is a lot. And, you know, they're working on email, and I was just like, oh, wow. And so, he reached out to me kind of last minute, and I wasn't able to attend the meeting this week because we had a other work meeting. But I told him I would probably try to attend the next meeting, and I think they want to know, you know, what's our archiving policy and where we're at. And it's kind of fits in perfectly for this work as well.
Brian, what's the scope for some of this? We were talking about best practices for geospatial data. I know Mike just said he's been working on that from MDT, and we've been working on that
Yeah.
from our perspective too. So how does MSL fit into that, and what are you thinking about developing best practices for?
So so basically this outlines how we will develop and implement best practices, not necessarily, it's not going to necessarily outline what we're going to implement. So the workflow, the steps that you need to take, who you need to contact, who you need to bring into collaboration as a part of this. And so it kind of defines more or less the process for developing policy and best practices. But some of the low hanging fruit that we had talked about that would, so there's different levels where we think it's appropriate. We have our best practices for AGUL and folks who use our AGUL environment. And then we'll have some best practices or standards for MSDI. So if you're gonna contribute to MSDI, we'll have those and that will, they'll all fall under different levels of oversight. Or
You're talking
oversight.
about information though that you, MSL, is managing.
Yes, yes,
That's- I'm wondering about like just the scope, like.
Yeah.
Because that's very broad.
yes. But yeah, in addition to that, we hope to work with the council and the managers forum to create policies and best practices for state government. For example, adopting an addressing standard. And then working with NAGIP and other communities for adopting like a metadata standard or re-adopting and updating the metadata standard. And so it's, I guess it'll depend on who would be using potentially the policy or the best practice.
And I would think those kinds of things would come to this council. for,
Yeah.
Support, sign off, prioritization.
Yeah.
So.
So I know this is probably out of the scope of the current discussion, but just thinking about the way the council is going to change from one state government, or four state government reps down to one. I don't know if best practices and standards are going to be able to be a one size fits all when it comes to some of that. So that's kind of where I'm wondering how some of that stuff is going to, which I realize this later in the day, but
Yeah,
that's just kind of what I was wondering about when you're,
yeah,
geospatial data is very broad. So we all have kind of different needs, and I've been doing a lot with records retention and it's painful, but
Yeah.
thinking about
yeah.
how long we need to keep things and.
I would say that, but yeah.
Oh, no, it's really painful.
Yeah.
But thinking how long we need to keep things versus, you know, and the other.
And I think other kind of questions that will come into play are best practices around publicly accessible data versus agency business data. How we collaborate when it's agency business data that is informing publicly accessible data, those kinds of things. But like Evan said, would all be part of discussions, whether it's through the GIS managers forum and the state agency level that then provides guidance to the new council, that kind of thing. Yeah, would be kind of better clarified and defined in the workflow process that we're developing, you know, so that other people would have to as well.
And I think I just again mentioned, obviously the MSDI is kind of the low hanging fruit. And there are certainly things for the themes that we manage within the library. We can go ahead and begin implementing, but when it comes to other stewards beyond the library, we really depend on council as far as guidance about what the most critical best practices are across the industry.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And a lot of it is like when grantees come to us and they, stakeholders come to us, they are awarded an MLA grant, and there's in certain cases where we don't have a standard in place, but we know we want to have a standardized data set coming in. And so like especially some of like the local government, like some of the asset management, data sets and other things like that. So I think having some sort of best practice to require in a contract for those grantees would be good. Did you want to?
No, I think that really gets to it is, we're making sure that we're looking at that whole spectrum, right? And definitely not a one size fits all, definitely not a, you know, everybody has to do this way, but how do, providing that structure for local governments and other folks that don't have the same kind of resources that the state agencies do, where we're looking for guidance on, no, I don't want to have to recreate the wheel. Right, and I need to implement something that allows me to feed into these larger data sets. So, and looking to the council for help with that.
And what I'm understanding with the tone for the future of the Geospatial Data Act, so the National Geospatial Data Act, is that Cy Smith, he was the former GIO for Oregon, state of Oregon, has a lot of advocacy experience. NISJIC hired him to continue to do advocacy for states. And then he just recently actually went to work for the state of Massachusetts. It's a big jump. But at least he's still in our community because he has a lot of really great contacts in Washington. And then he's had a lot of great experience. He basically what we're thinking is that eventually there's going to be a flow of money coming out. And, and then that if we have some of these best practices and standards in place, it should help that, get folks up to standard so that we can disseminate, maybe that's part of disseminating the funds one day is to eventually get folks up to standard. So that's what they're thinking, that he's outlined that there's an incredible overspending in the geospatial realm nationally, and that's what they're trying to, that's the heart of the matter they're trying to get to. So we dove into our first goal, and it's a lot of work. We started working at it, and there was a lot of, oh, we gotta update this before we can move forward, and so this we have been very successful in this goal to date, but we're not completed yet, and I would say we're probably a little behind. But the first objective that we started working on, there's 4, but these are the 2 main ones I want to discuss, is incoming communication pathways for support requests and public inquiries are clearly defined. Many of you participated in interviews, and the surveys that we completed back in, I believe, 21 with AppGeo. And one of the risks or weaknesses was basically, we have a lot of information, it's hard to find, there's a lot of different ways to ask for things, and there's a lot of requests coming to us, and so we decided to adopt ServiceNow. So we worked on that implementation, we started right around Christmas. And we are stood up, and now we're stood up in ServiceNow. We haven't fully embraced and implemented it yet, because we're basically working on policy, internal policy and workflow, and what that's gonna look like. So because of me being out for 5 weeks, we're a little behind. We were going to do staff training next week, but kind of pushed it out. That'll be staff training implementation. We see that happening no later than September, and then internal policy development. So when someone comes to us now in the future, it'll look a little different. Folks will be filling out a request of ServiceNow, so it'll be a better way for us to study where everything's coming in, keeping track of it, getting better metrics. There's something else Evan or Jenny wanted to say.
You say it's public, it's available.
It's up.
But it's.
Yeah, it's just yeah. It's not, we're not posting those links out there yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and you probably saw that, maybe Kevin talked about the portal.
Yeah.
Project. Okay, because that's something we've been investing in, this kind of a lean organization. And part of the idea originally was the service is a service to the public, whether it's MET or the library or whatever, trying to.
Yeah.
So I think participation in that oral conversation.
Oh, okay.
August would be.
Yeah, that was one of the ones I was interested in. That's the one you were slated to head up, correct? In 2017, when NISDIC was in Providence, the CIO of Massachusetts came and basically presented what Kevin is trying to accomplish. And I was like, this is awesome. It shouldn't be on the citizen to try to figure out which agency to go to find the information. However, when I was working with ITSD on some of these things, I was like, well, how do I send a ticket to DOR? And then we don't do that yet. And I was like, oh, okay. So I saw, I was like, well, we'll just get our ducks in a row, then we'll start working with other agencies. Because from what I understand, our ticket schemas have to be exactly the same in order to pass back and forth. And
There's a
so,
lot of work to do. To build that architecture,
and the way that they made it sound was people weren't ready to collaborate yet that way. And I said, well, we collaborate with agencies all the time. And so we refer folks to other agencies constantly, and they refer them to us. So that's something I would like to probably work on with Managers Forum next. And that group.
And I hope that's what that conversation looks like in August, as agencies are coming up and talking about their needs and.
Yeah.
And then Kevin shares his vision for what this will look like. I think that will help a lot.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of work.
Yeah.
But
I think it's the right direction.
Yeah.
So,
is it FWP? embraced it?
Yeah, we use
Yeah,
ServiceNow
yeah.
internally, or we actually use it for our internal staff requests that come to us.
Oh, okay.
The reporting and all of that it's challenging. You really do need somebody who can service well.
Yeah.
ServiceNow really well.
It's like a whole new position, or 5, depending on the size of your agency.
Yeah, we're trying to do with that. Like,
Yeah.
we're trying to do vouchers and, all those kinds of payments as well, and
Yeah.
ITDRs, it's,
Yeah,
so.
okay,
Use it for the public.
yeah,
We
we're kind of like,
just had that conversation. And do we start with it internally?
Right.
And get this dry one before we start.
Public requests that we get as an agency are probably a little bit different than other agencies.
yeah, I bet,
Yeah.
yeah,
Stop killing wolves, that kind of thing.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
We're just like, where do we put the button?
Yeah, there's no button for that yet.
I know. So that's coming along well. And the second part is to, the easy one, to restructure the web, for ease of use and discoverability. And so, because we have so much information, we really leaned on Esri to help us come up with a plan. Using the tools that we have access to, or we've already adopted through the Esri license agreement with the state. And so basically, we just completed an AGL portal governance activity. And we just got a draft report. We completed a web data storage and migration activity with Esri, trying to really get a handle of how we can present our information in an easy way to reduce the amount of web pages we have. So if you've ever gone and looked for imagery, we have many pages for imagery. So, putting it in one location, utilizing Hub, some of the Hub technology, and AGOL. We saw some really awesome examples. I think the city of DC was one that was really kind of beautiful. We're gonna do a UI UX activity this summer, that kind of pairs with the web data storage activity. And then, we have staff training for ArcGIS Experience Builder in August, which I might have some extra seats. If your agency, needs to get someone trained on that. The portal AGOL online governance activity, we just received a plan. We completed the activity in May, and unfortunately I couldn't go. I was out, but I don't know, Evan, if you want to give a little spiel. It was really great. Right now, we're a little behind the ball on AGOL governance because we're a small agency. We have a lot of trust, and so we are working to come up with a plan. And how we're going to implement that plan, and how portal and AGOL will interact, and how we will manage this moving forward. I don't know, if you wanted to say.
Yeah, I mean, we spent a bit of time on AUL governance, but we also spent a significant amount of time discussing the idea of moving services out of the Esri Managed Services environment and onto ArcGIS Align. Which seems like it may be a peaceful plan, but yeah, I don't have any big highlights. Otherwise, we learned a lot about a lot of tools. We learned a little about the Esri inner work for sport. I've since seen most of us other parties.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a whole lot. Sorry.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. When we hired Matt, he got in there, he's like, why do so many people have admin privileges? I was like, well, we're very trustworthy bunch. In other words, we just haven't had a chance to get there yet. And luckily, we've been fine, because, it's a tight-knit group, and we all operate under unwritten levels governance. Implementation of the plan, I don't know, we'll probably start the process no later than September, so we're actually pretty excited about that as well. Just there was a lot of, before we can move forward on, making the web easier to use, we had to really understand how we were going to organize our information, and that was a really big one, so. All right. Any questions? One.
Any questions for anyone online?
Experience.
Okay, yeah,
Me. Yeah, Jason.
okay, yeah, I might have like a handful of seats.
And then trying to make that move of migrate everything we have from that builder to experience builder. Just read their news stuff
Yeah.
yesterday.
Mhm.
One of our big experience builder users was ecstatic that they now had gate graphing available.
Oh, nice.
So.
Is there, one thing we're struggling with a little bit is. I guess the best way to describe it is when to use what product or what platform, and is there, a high level kind of, here's what Experience Builder does that Web App Builder didn't? That
Oh,
I could point
like there's probably like a,
Importers.
oh,
Eric,
yeah,
they sent
it's probably a matrix. I bet.
yeah, he had a matrix
Yeah.
in his email or on their website.
Yeah, but that builder's going away, you gotta get off that.
Yeah, I was just curious. what-
Yeah,
Before we just say we're moving all this stuff to Experience Builder and stuff, is there some consideration that something actually maybe was to some other platform? That was what I
Oh.
saw.
yeah. I'm not sure that's an Esri question.
Okay, and what's the lift look like? Do you know what the move, the migration? Is it a heavy lift or is it a?
It's gonna depend on that.
Yeah.
That's an application I know. I think Jason's pretty close to actually recreating our main browser, all the eggs in one basket browser, or web application into an Experience Builder one, away from Web App Builder. You know, there's a few widgets probably that haven't been ported over yet, and there's a few that they're just not going to. I mean, based on the reading I've done, but he's pretty close. And Dorota over at the epidemiologist has embraced it, and I mean, she's put together some great apps now with Experience Builder that she's gonna be rolling out. Sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, there is no push button convert this.
Yeah.
No.
Because.
Yeah,
it's a rebuild.
It's simple app, it's pretty easy.
No.
But the neat thing about that, and I think it goes with just about any of those Esri apps, is that if you find an example out in the wild someplace, you can grab that ID off of it and actually make a copy on your own side, and then replace data links and replace things, you know, you basically. So if I find something that the state did that I'm like, oh, that's really cool, I can grab that ID, and I think you say something like, grab that ID/edit, or something like that, I can't remember, there's a way that you could make a full copy of that in your environment, and then replace all the data links, graphics, things like that as necessary, so save you from having to build something from ground floor zero type of thing, so. But yeah, I'm with you on that one, you know, there's. Which one should we do? Well, let's try Web App Builder today and see what happens, see how it looks. Just a web app.
Web App Builder today.
Yeah. Or let's see what this one does there, let's try an instant app, so.
It's gonna be the trajectory though after, Experience Builder. I think I'm gonna rip that away.
Yeah, when's that gonna get rid of?
Maybe we'll find out in a few weeks.
Well, that's true, yeah, when you're down there in July.
Yeah.
in San Diego, so. Find out what their path is. I'll be watching from afar. You know, stand up, hold the sign when you're not on radio.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Matt's online. Matt, did you hear anything at the developers conference about Web App Builder versus, or not Web App Builder, Experience Builder?
In regards to the cutover to Experience Builder, or?
Yeah, and people's impressions on switching.
Oh, it was a universal pain point. I think that, like many other state agencies and users in our state, there are a lot of folks that are still using Web App Builder applications, and I think there's some angst, but like everything with Esri's software, they are improving Experience Builder to basically have all the functionality you might have in Web App Builder. So I think that I felt just the gentle nudge to get people pushed over there because, the end of life coming for, what we do understand is there'll be, of course you can have your Web App Builder applications up for quite some time, but they won't be updated. And there's a lot of encouragement to move us forward. So that's what I got out of the Dev Summit in regards to that.
Then what's coming down the line to replace Experience Builder?
PD. Thanks, Matt.
Any other questions or comments? We're running a little over on time, so unless there's any questions about the financial report, I think we'll move on past that. Again, that's your third quarter financial report, so a lot of what's reflected in the financial report does reflect the grant completions as well as some of the grant extensions, and of course, then it doesn't have any of the new grants for FY 24 in that. Any questions about the financial report? We're almost close to the fourth quarter, obviously. Aaron, did you want to talk about the COVID wrap up?
I'm pretty long-winded, so I'll just make it short. Of self-awareness. I would have loved to spend more time on this, but I was out for quite a bit. Basically, this is what I want you to see. We stopped updating the dashboard, and as of May 12th, the pandemic is over, or is it the 11th? It's May 11th, it's Thursday, and it was supposed to be when we had our last council meeting, because DPHS was also having a social that night too. I was like, oh, it would have been great if we could all meet together, but we are going to be leaving this up until well, we haven't discussed internally for how long we'll leave the data up for, or excuse me, the dashboard, but we haven't decided to pull it down yet, probably a few more months. It's no longer being updated. The data will be out there in perpetuity, and that information is available to anyone as a web service. And I just want to thank everyone that's been involved over the years. It was quite the experience. We still need to do an official debrief. The National States Geographic Information Council and a few other health organizations created the pandemic playbook. And at the last mid-year meeting, I talked with Frank Winters, former GIO New York, about potentially adding on a piece about decommissioning and archiving, and basically turning off your dashboards and shutting down the pandemic, because that wasn't outlined in the pandemic playbook. And so we thought it was kind of a key piece that would be important, and we could give our experiences based on the past 3 years and how we decided to shut things off. But since we are behind, I'll leave it at that. And I can always provide more statistics in the future. One thing I would like to discuss with this council and NAGIP and GIS Managers Forum is how folks are archiving statistical information, because you only have access it for a few years. And so we've been just basically taking screenshots. If I have one up. It's kind of like a low budget way of doing it. But we haven't tapped into services to putting it in spreadsheets and whatnot. And so, that's usage of it. Like when we just, I think we made the decision on 4/12 that we were going to, that we had gotten approval to no longer update the data. And so that's what the looked like during that time frame. So you could see that it really wasn't being utilized, and I'm pretty sure on 3/11, that is when that might have been when the president might have made his his declaration that they would be closing, or killing the pandemic, so to speak. So, and then I do know that COVID kind of reared its head here in local schools and daycares. And so it'd be interesting to see, this past month, what that looked like, so. I'll bring more statistics in future meetings, but we found this to be kind of a pain. I didn't know if anyone else was doing anything special to harvest this important statistical data.
We've done the same, and then we've also, our first year that we did our rules dashboard, we literally just screenshot every single page of the dashboard.
Yeah.
Because it was in the old technology
Oh,
as well, so we inevitably thought that somebody would ask for, what did it look like?
Right.
So,
Did you do that daily or weekly or?
we did it at the end of the season, but we have that data, we keep that data,
Yeah.
there's a data download, so we have that data archived actually as an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So, but it's also in our internal database.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating because you think there'd be a better option.
You would think that there'd be a way to archive.
Right.
Like a story map, a dashboard, anything like that, as a way to like keep a historical record, but not necessarily keep all the data.
Right.
And all that.
Yeah.
Aaron, I did want to bring up in our governance exercise, we discussed this very topic quite a bit. And this was a big part of some of the tools we'll have coming out to, keep track of these metrics in a better way, as well as archival of all these apps and whatnot. And I think that's something that as we peruse the draft that was provided to us, we'll hopefully get some guidance from Esri in regard to that.
The individual we worked with, her name was Erin Richmond, and she was out of Minnesota, or no, St. Louis office. She was awesome. Highly recommend her.
We just had another thought.
Yeah.
Related to the stats. You can ask me later, but
Okay.
we are keeping our web stats. We've got scripts.
Oh, okay.
To take that information and put it into like CSVs.
All right, cool.
So if you want to know how to do that, what we've done. just
Okay.
let me know.
All right, awesome. Thank you. And back over to you.
Right. So just, some,
audio. Can folks hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes,
can
we
hear
got
you.
you now.
Yeah, I think it's just Jenny is left. So, so what we've decided is, we're gonna try to use the computers, or excuse me, the audio in the room here. So we'll finish up this meeting. And then after that, we'll take a short break and before we get started on the working session, and then we'll switch to that audio. So thanks for hanging tight with us. Let me share. Let me get back there. I think it's just the agenda.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Sure, go. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Oh, okay.
So before our owl decided to fail us, I was talking about the passage of House Bill 343 and some of the changes to the MLIA in creating the MGIA. We're still working on acronyms. Maybe that can be part of our discussion this afternoon too. MGIA just doesn't really sound that great. In addition to changes to the makeup of this council, which we've talked about, some of the other changes include moving away from an annual land plan cycle to a planning cycle of at least every 3 years. Importantly, the legislation still says the state library must coordinate with this council to create that land plan and the priorities of the land plan, including priorities for the grants, priorities for GIS coordination and GIS data development. So that work of the council remains with an extended land plan cycle. And then with the new smaller council, we also have staggered terms, which I hope will help us retain a lot of the institutional memory of the council going forward. So I think that that work is all positive. I'll jump down to new business and just let you all know what our first task as a council or a task force of the council will be, and that is to update the administrative rules that accompany the statutes. We have administrative rules tied to the annual land plan cycle, as well as the grant cycles. Some of those administrative rules we really haven't been able to meet for several years. For example, they require certain makeup for the land plan subcommittee, certain makeup for the grant review subcommittee, and that makeup currently requires that the tribal representative, for example, be a member of both committees. We haven't had a tribal representative for quite some time. So we need to go in and consider the current administrative rules relative to the changes in the statute, and then propose updates to those administrative rules going forward. We're going to be working with an attorney from Agency Legal Services, whose name is Katie Baumans, to go through that process. So as soon as we have a new council appointed from the governor's office, as I said, that will kind of be the first priority of our work starting later this summer and going into the fall. Our hope is that we can have draft administrative rules to the State Library Commission at their October commission meeting. And then we'll go through public comment and hopefully adopt those administrative rules in December. We have not heard anything from the governor's office yet about new appointments to this council. So I do hope that many of you will consider applying and continuing to your work on the council.
Do we have to resubmit to the?
I would. Yep. Yep.
That's open now.
It's all.
Because there's not like.
Oh, that's right.
There's openings on the
Mhm.
council.
Yeah.
They showed that the link, the reappointment link. And that's select the council. Nothing that actually. There are openings or upper.
Okay. We can send that link out to people so you have it. And then finally, I just wanted to share a couple of other legislative updates. Senate Bill 60, which establishes the enterprise fund and grants authority to the state library to administer the real-time network, passed. And for those of you who might not have been following that legislation, that was just a really fun piece of legislation to carry through the session, if you can say such things. To see the enthusiasm of the legislature themselves as they came to understand what the technology can mean for the state was really, really encouraging. Just a lot of enthusiasm for the legislature. And so we're excited to continue to move that process forward. Evan and Kazi have been working closely with MDT to look at contracting needs and to purchase additional technology as we come close to the end of the fiscal year. And then our immediate next steps will be to do the work of actually establishing the enterprise fund. We hope we can start actually collecting subscriber fees at the start of calendar year 2024. That's what the goal that we're shooting for at this point. And then similarly, we'll be working with this attorney from Agency Legal Services to determine what, if any, administrative rules we need to put in place for that program as well. If there's any questions about the real-time network, I would point you to Evan.
If you haven't tested it, encourage you all to do so. Spread the word. It's out there and available for free right now. Yeah.
Is it clear that there's gonna be a fee coming? I mean, are people that are currently using it for free, do they know?
We've put out communication. We can probably do more of that we should probably come up with a communication calendar for those kinds of updates coming on a more frequent basis.
We just went through the budgeting levels if there was anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those updates out in such a time that people can budget.
Yeah.
Fiscal years.
We did let folks know that it was coming from Marl. We've been working closely with Marls, and when we were there at their conference, we let them know. So that's one of the major communities, but also the geospatial community as well.
Yeah.
Or Megan specifically.
That's helpful feedback. And then the other bill I wanted to make sure you were aware of was Senate Bill 398. That establishes the Montana Coordinate System. That was a bill that was requested by Marls, the Montana Association of Registered Land Surveyors, and carried by Senator Bruce Gillespie. And we were there as proponents, and I think MDT was an informational witness on that particular piece of legislation. And that legislation passed handily through the session and is now in place. Anything you would add about that piece of legislation?
No. It was fun.
It was a neat little bill.
It was. I mean, we have funny stories now from it.
It was a neat little bill.
It was. And we got some really wonderful compliments. That was the MLIA update. Yeah, and that was nice to hear. They were very congratulatory with what we're doing. So that was pretty awesome. 398? Yeah. And that one, just so everyone's clear, that standardizes state plane coordinate system. So moving forward, we don't have to, it was actually, I just completed the geospatial maturity assessment through NISJIC. And that was one of the questions. Has your state standardized their legislation yet? So it's a big push being done nationally so that we don't have to go back and update it every time there's a change. So it's adopting the recent standard that the feds adopt.
Those are the legislative updates, unless there's any questions. Any public comment? Or other business and announcements? I just want to say again how wonderful it has been working with this council. The state library has been responsible for chairing this council since 2011, and I've been the chair since 2012. And it's just really been a privilege to work with so many of you over the years. So, again, thank you for all of your help and support and guidance. And I hope we get to continue to work with many of you, and obviously just because you might not be on the council doesn't mean that you're not going to see us and hear from us and have opportunities to continue to engage with us in the future. I want to pay a particular thank you to Mike Bosleman. If you haven't heard, he's going to be retiring at the end of next month. And I have a very clear memory, Mike, 2010, 11, you were asked to chair a work group that by Governor Schweitzer to help us better coordinate geospatial activities between agencies and state government. And you and I had coffee at Starbucks. And I asked you for your support in helping the state library and the Base Map Service Center work more closely together. And I think the results of that kind of collaboration and the changes that we've been able to make over the last decade have, I hope, really advanced our work. So thank you for that support and leadership that you provided.
I want to say thanks for all the opportunities created for me. Part of this.
Thanks. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Just gonna paraphrase you. I'm gonna chat.
Beers are on him. No, I'm sorry.
All right. With that, we'll adjourn the business portion of the meeting. Oh, I don't think we never got a quorum. So we'll just acknowledge in our notes that that unless anybody had any corrections or additions to the executive summary, we'll just note that they were never formally accepted by the council. Thanks for that reminder. All right.
Well, we're a little behind, so how do you feel, Ashley, about starting with people eating, or you want to just wait till noon? All right.
Okay.
Noon. Let's do noon.
Come back at noon. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I took both your responses. Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah.